raised in the Lone Star Land, with boots on my feet and dreams in my hand. A little sassy but a whole lot of grace. You'll see that fire when you look in my face. I'm a Texas girl with a heart so wide, family and friends always by my side. From the crack of dawn to the stars at night, I keep it real, keep my soul burning bright. Barbecue smoke, Friday night lights, cheering for the Astros under Texas skies. A little bit stubborn, a whole lot of charm. This big old heart will keep you warm. I'm a Texas girl with a heart so wide, family and friends always by my side. From the crack of dawn to the stars at night, I keep it real, keep my soul burning bright. Barbecue smoke, Friday night lights, cheering for the Astros under Texas skies. A little bit stubborn, a whole lot of charm. This big old heart will keep you warm. I'm a Texas girl with a heart so wide, family and friends always by my side. From the crack of dawn to the stars at night, I keep it real, keep my soul burning bright. From the blue bonnet fields to the city streets, every step I take feels like home to me. With a little sass and a lot of pride, this Texas girl's got nothing to hide. I'm a Texas girl with a heart so wide, family and friends always by my side. From the crack of dawn to the stars at night, I keep it real, keep my soul burning bright.
Well, hello, my friends. How are y'all doing today? Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody is having a really great day. Before I get started, just an FYI, we are having storms. And should I lose internet and drop down, I want y'all to know what's going on. And so let me just share with you. I had to run an errand earlier. And as I was coming home, let's see. I was coming around the corner and took this picture. That was the beginning of all the black, dark storms coming in. And so that's not a telephone pole or a light pole or anything. If you zoom into it, you'll see that is one tall weed straight up in the middle of the picture. But yeah, those clouds were looking pretty wicked, and thunder's going crazy. It's starting to rain, and it is very likely I may lose signal. Just a little something to make everybody happy. Little Emmy came up to see me, and as she was going down the stairs, her got very, very tired. Look how tiny she is on those stairs. But she's such a cutie pie. There's her and her little ears. Thought I would share that with y'all. But, anyways, back to saying hello to everybody. I just wanted to let y'all know that the weather is not my friend right now. Welcome to everybody coming in. Hello, Miss Kathy. How are you? Hi, Retha Bell. Good to have you. And TJ. Yeah, I went live this early because we're going to do a late live tonight as well. Hey, YouTuber. Me and you. Good to have y'all. Hey, Bobby. Good to have you in chat. Victoria. There's our blue eyes. Oh, wise old lady. This poor little boy, man. He would be a grown man at about now. YouTuber. Hello, hello. Teresa, good to have you. Glinda, how sweet. She said, love the song as an introduction to your program. You're awesome. Thank you, Glinda. That is so sweet. Bo, how you doing? Let's see. Anybody else sneak up in here? Wait, what? How are you doing? Hey, Seclusion, Star Child, and Randa. Good to have y'all. Hi, Carol Loves Embroidery. Victoria. Let's see. Anybody else up in here? Tap Dancer Lizzie. Good to have you. Maurice, hi. How are you doing? Good to have you. There's my friend Kelly. Oh, you're looking like a lobster, huh? Goodness. I bet you're hot. Jacqueline, how are you doing? Thank you all for being here with us today. Appreciate everybody in chat. Everybody else that's listening, I do appreciate y'all so much. Let's see. So I hope everybody's well. The weather's good your way and having a good day. We do need to keep Miss Rhonda in our prayers. Early in the morning hours, she had to go to the hospital. She has appendicitis. And we'll just kind of leave it there. Might be possible complications to it. And so we want to remember her in our prayers that she gets a good, speedy recovery. Keep Blue Eyes in your prayer because she needs rest, my friend. You need rest. Or I'm going to call your doctor. And then also keep Miss Sandra in your prayer as well. Who was it that had the daughter having surgery? I could not remember. I knew there was surgery at 7:30 this morning, and I cannot remember who it was. I was wanting to check and see that everything turned out okay. And today is baby day for Gypsy. Yay. If she did not have the baby last night, they were inducing tonight. So keep baby and mama in your prayers. Oh man, Bo, I tell you, this case just kind of went to the wayside really quick like. And I think it's a perfect way to start covering something else. His mother has been out advocating recently. She wants justice for her baby. Oh, thank you, Miss Kelly. She said, praying for Rhonda, Blue Eyes, Miss Sandra, and everyone. May God lay his healing hands on you all. Amen. It's coming back strong, isn't it? Yes. Yes. I I don't know if it was a different Sandra, not our Miss Sandra, but someone did say yesterday, you're not familiar with this case? Oh, good. Okay, we'll get you updated here. It's crazy. Crazy. Almost as bad as Sebastian's case. It is so obvious. Well, in my opinion, to me, it's obvious. But we're going to get started on that. In case I lose internet or whatever, I'll be coming back on tonight for a late live. Yes, YouTuber. How is that not possible? It's crazy. Crazy, crazy. All right. Well, we got several who don't know about the Kyron Horman case. And so we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. I agree, Star Child. I think it can be solved. It should have already been solved, in my opinion, of course. I mean, Kyron Horman was a little boy who was taken to school by his stepmother. It was science fair day. He was taking his project. They set it up in the classroom and went walking around to look at other projects. He was seen there that morning. However, his stepmother says she was walking down the stairs as he was walking into his classroom. But little Kyron has not been seen since. He was not present when school started. And so anyways, we're going to listen to Law and Crime. And they have this whole presentation here. He would be, I think it's, what was it, 15 years ago this happened? Yes, they did. They do, I think, have video of that stepmom. And she was walking out of the school, got in her car with him. But she says that was not her. So, yeah, this one did hit home with us all raising our kids and setting up those projects and stuff. Yes. Yes. I don't know. I just never understood why that stepmother was not dealt with. Yeah, seclusion. I think he'd be 22 if he was here today. At the end of this Law and Crime video, we're going to play a quick, it's less than 5 minutes. It was only about 2 months ago that his mother and his father both had an interview done. Yes, Bo, she hired someone to off her husband. Yeah. So she's a nutcase, if you ask me. They are reopening the case. They are looking into it. Hey, JH and Charlene. Hi, everybody that's coming in. Thank y'all for being here. This is a case that deserves eyes back up on it. And we're going to do this. And so let's, yes, his mother, Desiree, as Maury says here, is another Seth Rogers, never gives up. And it's 15 years later. The stepmother, I tell you what, her and her friend did something to that baby boy. I just don't get it. Okay, well, let's get started. We're going to watch this. It is quite lengthy. It's close to an hour. I'll stop and we'll chat throughout it. But this is the story of Kyron Horman. Here we go. Let's get this going.
A bit about Kyron.
Kyron is a very shy, super funny, very compassionate and loving child. Kyron is super intelligent. You don't realize he's in a room and he's paying attention and taking it all in. And then he'll pop off with some really complicated word. And you just are like, where in the world did you get that? And, oh, he picked it up from someone somewhere, you know, and he just is that kid that you love being around. I have an older son, and those two would feed off of each other. And it's just hilarious to watch them because.
Yes, seclusion. In the little school performance there, you can't help but go back to Sebastian's case. There's a lot of parallels here. High intellect. Yes, high intellect for sure.
Quinn would just look at him with this face, all super serious. And then Kyron would start cracking up. And they would just go with it, you know? And It was like a comedy act. And
that was Desiree, Kyron's mother, his real mother, not the stepmother.
On the weekends, it was all about family time.
Mm-hmm.
We just would hang around the house, or he would ride his bike, and we'd go for walks around the neighborhood. We know all of our neighbors. We're super close with our neighbors. That's the people that we are. We look out for each other. We've always been that way. We have a tight group, a trusted group. Like, our life had structure and boundaries, and you just wouldn't expect
this picture right here, folks. His stepmother took this picture after he set this science project up in his classroom. They went early to get it set up. Other kids had theirs set up, and they got to walk throughout all the classes to see all the different projects. Him and his stepmother did that. And as his stepmother tells us, she left him at the door of his classroom and went down the stairs to leave. And that was the last time, supposedly, she saw him. The last picture that was taken of Kyron is right here.
This to happen. You just wouldn't ever expect it. It's hard for me to know that aspect of our lives and to know that he went missing.
Skyline second grader Kyron Horman did not arrive home from school today.
Kyron!
It wasn't until after school was over that they realized he wasn't home, and they started checking, and they found out he did not show up in his classroom.
Kyron, we miss you, we love you, and we need you home right now.
Chapter 2, Mask of Deceit.
I found out about her from my best friend. She made him call me on July 15, 2002 at 4 a.m. I was pregnant, and Kane had cheated on me. Apparently, he said something by mistake. He was cheating on me for a while, that he cheated on me before, prior to that, that this person was a teacher that he knew of. She had red hair. And so I did something that I had never done in my life, and I spied on him. That was how I realized that my life was not really what I thought. In January, after I had moved out, she was waiting around the corner with her stuff, and she moved in right away. The day that I figured out who she was, we get an invite in Quinn's backpack for a birthday party, and when I looked at it, I recognized the handwriting. I hadn't met Terry until Kyron was, I think it was 1, and I hear
Now, the lady with the red hair, that was the stepmother.
Quinn hop out of the car and say, "Hi, Terry." And that was when I realized she was walking up to us. That was the first time that I met her. I was careful. I didn't say a word to her. She offered her hand to me and I ignored her. So I was holding back a lot of anger over the years and all hurt that I had endured because I wanted to be a good person in front of my boys. We could stand next to each other at soccer events, track, cross country. We supported the boys. I have stood there and stuffed back all the feelings that I've ever had because it was important for my kids to learn from this that we were going to co-parent together, as painful as some of it was.
That right there is a mother who loves her children. That's what a mother should be. A mother who will suck it up to show her kids you can be a better person. Not a mother who loses her child and then goes on vacation.
You know, we went forward. Life happened. We were, I think, as successful as you can be in a co-parenting relationship.
Yes, golden.
You know, we were always at sporting events all together. I drove for hours in the middle of the night to make sure that I was there for my boys. It was very challenging, but we made it work. I did have significant medical problems, and that was when I didn't have custody, although I had custody in the very beginning. But I can't control that, unfortunately. So that was where we were at, you know, in 2010. We were making it work. And Quinn was 15 when Kyron went missing.
Chapter 3, The Vanishing.
I was at home in Southern Oregon, actually going to work, but I did talk with Kyron. He was nervous, and I was just trying to reassure him. Kane told me he ended up not going to the science fair. He had a meeting, I guess. He had sent Terry with Kyron. Kyron normally rides the bus to school, but the presentation and the diorama was going to be exhibited to the entire school.
Okay.
So everybody's walking through the classrooms and looking at all of the exhibits.
Okay.
7-year-old Kyron Horman disappeared from Skyline Elementary School.
He was wearing a black CSI t-shirt, black cargo pants.
Kyron was last seen by his stepmother, Terry Horman, who dropped him off at Skyline Elementary. No one has been charged in his disappearance.
That night when they interviewed us, they came to me and Tony in the house, and I believe that they were working through ruling us out. They had to alibi us, had to get our information, all of that. So by about 3 a.m, they came to us and asked us to go to the school. And I thought, oh, they must have cleared us, right? I remember it was one of the most difficult situations because I started to walk into the school and I saw all the exhibits in the hallway still. And I thought it was going to throw up and I couldn't walk. And thank God Tony was holding me up. It was one of the moments where I realized, oh my God, this is happening. And then I looked up and I saw Ben Kiefer, the principal, coming toward us. I don't recall what Ben said to me. I just know that he came up to me and offered his hand, and there was a team of law enforcement there. And I remember not they were necessarily, they were clearly not people that I had already met at the house, but they had asked me to come into an office so that I could be interviewed. They separated me and Tony, of course, and a team went with Tony, a team went with me. I remember sitting across a round table from a couple of individuals. I believe one was with the FBI and I believe one was with Multnomah County. I remember just really struggling to try and think who in the world could possibly do this. You know, they asked me the usual questions. They had me go through everywhere I had been that day. You know, I said, you can have everything. Like, if you need to go through our house, if you need my computer, my phone, you can have everything. We were
Everything. You can have everything. That's the way it always should be. Sorry, but I have to stop, guys.
talking, and they asked, do you know anybody who could do this to Kyron? Who would take Kyron? And I said, I honestly don't know. I offered up everything I could possibly think of. I actually thought of all the evil in the world first, and they asked, you know, if I knew where Kyron was. And I said, God, I wish I knew. I would give anything to go back in time and to pull him out of that moment and protect him and be there. And I can't undo that.
Could you imagine that mother? Just as we've talked about Seth with Sebastian's case and the grief that he's going through, that's what you're seeing with this mother. However, the next chapter begins.
Chapter 4, Searching.
The second it's too quiet, the second that I feel like it's not working in our favor, we're not helping Kyron, there's nothing happening. Do something to force the issue, right? And that's what I've done over the years. I'll do a search, and I have always been completely transparent whenever I've done a search. We have always turned over all evidence. I am very careful about the way I run searches, and I always have the proper technology, the people that are certified in Multnomah County doing the searching. I have dog teams that are brought in from all over the U.S. who are trustworthy. And
did y'all see that banner? Let's see, where was that at? Hold on, I want to go back to this. Let's start here.
Right? And that's what I've done over the years. I'll do a search, and I have always been completely transparent whenever I've done a search. We have always turned over all evidence. I am very careful about the way I run searches, and I always have the proper technology, the people that are certified in Multnomah County.
Together, we can bring Kyron home. I promise I will find you. I will never stop. Mama. That's a banner, folks. That's a banner that should be done by a parent of a missing child. That tells people that this mother wants her child found. Yes. It's beautiful.
Doing the searching. I have dog teams that are brought in from all over the U.S. who are trustworthy and can do the job. And I know that the dog teams are reliable. I don't ever run it half-assed. I would never do that. I would never want to compromise Kyron's case. I have done a search every year with the exception of the last couple. And it's been a long journey. I have, over the years, helped families of missing children. I've been a resource for parents when their child goes missing and in those first moments. The thing I'm most passionate about and connected to is working with the Department of Justice and the training facility, the national training facility for training law enforcement on CART teams, child abduction response teams. I speak to law enforcement about the family perspective, the best practices, the protocols we need to follow in cases like this. I feel like I make more of an impact when I can make that change in how we help the families, how we investigate these cases. How do we do it right? How do we improve on what we've done wrong? But I think have that impact and I can make change. I can hopefully be heard in a different way. I think it's really, really important to improve on everything that we do.
A mother who is advocating for children that are missing, using her experience for good. Not a mother who has pleaded the fifth and hired a defense attorney. This is a mother who truly loves her child.
Or we're not going to ever bring our kids home.
Chapter 5, Shadows of Discord.
And from what I understand, their house was very divided at the time when Kyron went missing. Kyron was struggling. He didn't want to go back. He would cry and cry and cry and didn't want me to take him back. We realized that he was wetting the bed. I didn't know why that was. He couldn't articulate what the problem was to me, but there was problems, clearly. And it finally came to a head where I wasn't going to take him back. I couldn't do it. And I want to protect my child. There's clearly something going on. And I called Kane and I told him I wasn't bringing him home. And Kane said, yes, you are. That this is not an option. And I said, I'm taking custody back. He said, it's not an option. He said, we'll bring him home. And I said, I'm not telling him that anymore. This has been going for far too long. There's clearly something happening.
This is This is Kyron's real father who had custody of him. But something was going on, folks, in that house. There was a young child here who was old enough to not wet in the bed, but yet it started happening. It's deja vu, folks. And look at that smile. If that smile doesn't grab you, those eyes lit up with just joy. Man.
I gave the phone to Kyron, and I normally do not act that way, but I did not want to be that person.
Yeah.
So he had to be the bad guy and tell Kyron that he had to come home. And Terry was calling me sometimes in the middle of the night in that year. She wanted me to take Kyron. She asked me on several occasions. One day I was running errands and
yes, Vanilla, for sure. This woman here needs to go train Sumner County how to do searches. Yes. Yes, Desiree was ill at the time, and the father ended up getting the custody of the boys. So, yes.
She called and I could hear Kyron in the background crying. And I said, "What's going on?" She said, "I want you to come and get him." Okay, I'm getting in the car. I'm coming. And I get in the car and I'm calling Kane at the same time. Said, "Something's going on. I'm going to get Kyron." "No, you're not. That's not an option." And I'll be honest, Kane probably didn't handle it the right way. Kyron was clearly having issues. Another thing that I was seeing in the year leading up to Kyron going missing, I'm horrified because Kyron was almost grounded for Christmas. And I actually had my child sit down and write a letter to Santa apologizing for his bad behavior when he didn't have bad behavior.
Chapter 6, Truth Unveiled.
Terry ended up taking Kane's truck that day. She needed it so that she could pick up the science fair exhibit after it was done. That's unusual. The science fair exhibits were supposed to remain up until Monday. She arrived around 8:15. Ms. Porter arrived around 8:25. So there was a period of time where Terry and Kyron were in the school without other parents, but there was administrative support staff already there. And that's how we know when she got there. Terry proceeded to take Kyron around to the classrooms. She went to 3 classrooms with Kyron. We know that she walked up through the East End stairwell. The story that Terry tells coming up that stairwell is that she walked him up to the main hallway, didn't walk him all the way to Miss Porter's class at the very end of that hallway, that she waved to him from the top of those stairs. It's significant because if she was standing at the top of those stairs, there's no way she would even be able to see Kyron. She would see a wall.
Boom. But that is the stepmother's story. Always has been that she stood at the top of the stairway and watched Kyron walk into his classroom. As the mother states, where the stairs are, for her to look towards the end of that hall, she's looking at a wall. She's staring a wall flat in her face. I think there is, I'll have to go back and find it because I believe they showed all of that at one point. But yeah, we're going to dig into this some more. And I'll definitely look for that layout of the school. Yes, there were several people, parents that were there inside the school and going out to their car that said they saw her take him out of the school with her. Yes, it is so obvious. Just like I said with Sebastian's case, it's just so obvious. Come and take him. Come and take him. You need to take him now. And then boom, the child disappears. The story makes no sense. The child started wetting the bed. Folks, how are these people getting away with this? It's wrong.
The other caveat is the picture. So the real timeline that we know, absolutely witnessed by everybody on GPS with the camera, is that she came up that stairwell, walked Kyron all the way to Miss Porter's classroom, took pictures of him and his 2 friends in front of the diorama, time-stamped, 8:45, right before she walks out the side doors with Kyron. That also is witnessed by Kyron's bus driver. She happened to be sitting in her bus and saw Terry and Kyron come out of the school with Kiara. And his other friend and grandma and sister are outside the school and see Kyron leaving with Terry. So we know that Terry went from the school, and we know that she went to 2 Fred Meyers. She claims that she was there to buy cold medicine for Kiara, supposedly. Well, that's the funny thing is Kiara was not sick at the time that Kyron went missing. She was sick a couple weeks earlier. She had actually taken antibiotics and by that point was fine. She claimed that the first Fred Meyer didn't have it and that she went to the second Fred Meyer. So she's seen pulling into the second Fred Meyer, pulling into the parking lot. She's on video surveillance. Kyron is nowhere to be seen in the video surveillance, although Kyron is the type of child, if you told him to stay in the car, he would absolutely listen to you. From that moment, Terry is missing, although seen by witnesses in various side roads off of the Skyline area. She's seen pulled over on the side of the road. Her phone is out of signal for a significant period of time. Her phone pings at 11 a.m. driving down Highway 30. She's seen checking Kiara in there at the gym. She was seen walking around talking to people she did not know significantly, but showing them the photo of Kyron. She had injured her leg, and the person noted that Terry indicated it was because she dropped a weight on her leg down her shin, but the person said it was not that kind of injury. It was like she scraped it on something uneven and jagged. And it was odd because she did not work out. Not once.
How long was she at the gym?
A total of about 15 to 18 minutes.
What?
Yeah. She didn't work out. She had
15 to 18 minutes at the gym, folks. She's got a cut scrape on her leg. She said she dropped the weight on her leg. There are so many witnesses that can say they saw her take Kyron out of that school, saw her driving down into the mountain area. Her phone lost service, was not accounted for until 11 a.m. That's almost 2 hours, guys. It's incredible. Incredible.
has several interviews in the first several days, right?
Okay.
And so the first timeline she's giving doesn't have that in there.
Okay.
So they're wondering, where is she between, these times? So at first the timeline is very sparse because she hasn't thought it through. She hasn't figured out where she was. She can't account for that time.
Okay.
I believe it was Monday. I'm in the house and she was on her computer and I asked her what she was doing. And she's like, she was defensive and didn't want me looking at her computer. And she's like, you just need to mind your own business. And I said, okay. I just was asking what you were doing. Well, they're trying to get my timeline of where I was. Okay. So she was typing up her timeline. I can tell you to this day, 13 years later, every single place I went to that day, and I know because that was the day the world came out from under me.
Folks, have I not said that 100 million one times? A mother who loses a child, whether it is a disappearance or their life has been gone. You remember everything about that day. And just like Katie Proudfoot, she can't tell the same story twice. She can't get the correct timeline down. And therefore she stops talking. And here's a mother that was clearly hours away that can remember every detail of that last day. That was the last time her life was ever normal. I'm telling you, I remember every tiny detail of the day. The very last moments I saw my son, where I was at, what I was doing, all the things. It will never leave me. It's a part of the day my life exploded. But yet Katie, Sebastian's mother, can't even tell the same story. Just like the stepmother, having to sit down and type out her timeline. It's obvious, folks.
I know what I ate for goddamn lunch. I can tell you everything I did that day, and she can't figure out where she was or what she did. It took me a while before I offered Terry up. It was awkward. You know, the more time that went on, the more my feelings couldn't be concealed. It was really uncomfortable to be there with her and watch her behavior, where she wasn't sad, she wasn't doing all of that stuff. She was going out of her way to lead a normal life, so to speak. She was getting her hair done. She was going to the gym. She was doing all this stuff, and I could barely function.
Once again, folks, here we have Katie going on vacation. The very day her child's missing, her and her mother-in-law and her sister-in-law are talking about their vacation and what jewelry that Christopher's going to buy his mommy. And Seth's world is crumbling all around him.
I didn't want to live after Kyron. It was really hard. And I think it got to the point where it was so glaring that we all looked at each other, we all being Kane, Tony, and I. There's just no other person, right? Well, I'll tell you that our law enforcement team was very good not to focus too early on her.
Okay.
It was because of Terry alone, her actions, her lies, everything that we could prove, all the physical evidence, all the circumstantial evidence. It was because of all of that that they really started focusing on her.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't any other reason. I will say that they have gone out of their way to exhaust every other angle and suspect out there. They have ruled out every parent that was in the school that day, every registered sex offender in the area, every house that neighbors up to the school. They have ruled out every single possible other person except one.
Except one. Now, why can Sumner County not do that? Why can Sumner County not rule out Seth? Just a question I have. But this law enforcement agency ruled out every single possible person that they could get credible alibis for, except for Kyron's stepmother. Sumner County's not going to rule out nobody.
I should say two. Terry's friend, with Dee Dee Spicer.
Oh,
you don't get
friend.
Dee Dee without Terry.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I'm aware, Dee Dee was 2 miles from the school on Germantown Road, working at a property where she was landscaping for them. She was also missing during the same period of time that Terry was.
Did y'all hear that? Terry's best friend, the stepmother's best friend, Dee Dee, was doing a job landscaping about 2 miles from this school. Dee Dee was missing for the same time period that the stepmother was missing, unaccounted for. Unaccounted for at the exact same time.
The people on the property always have lunch together in their central location, and they were trying to locate her, and she was missing.
Okay.
And they tried calling her, and she didn't answer. Her phone was on the property. Her car was on the property, but Dee Dee was nowhere to be found, and they looked everywhere. It's our understanding through information I've had turned over to me during searches that she was picked up by Terry from her job on that property.
Isn't that
In
something?
the DA's office, they believed at the time that they could get her to flip on Terry. Several weeks later, they made an agreement with Dee Dee Spicer for immunity. Here's the problem with that. As you're investigating, you're getting evidence, you're obtaining new information, new interviews, all the things, right? And now, today, what we can say is there's physical evidence that is involving her. From what I understand, Dee Dee Spicer said Terry was using throwaway phones and had loaded it with minutes and was using that to communicate with people. We're able to acquire the phones. Dee Dee took them where they dumped them. I don't know when the phones were dumped. They got access to them a couple of weeks after Kyron went missing.
Phones, folks, phones. Is that not crazy? There it is. Holly, thank you so much. She said it makes me ill. No one is in prison for what happened to this little guy. Thanks for covering this. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. And you are correct. It is absolutely horrifying to think there is physical evidence, and yet they are both still walking around. Thank you, Holly. Appreciate you. Welcome to everybody that's come in while we're covering this case. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Has this poor precious boy been found at all? No, ma'am. He has not. Now his mother is pressing for searches in a certain area that they have recently discovered that he possibly could be at. So anyways, let's get back to listening to the rest of this real quick.
There's communication connected to photos that were stored on the phone that is the physical evidence in the case. It's all things that imply guilt. It's all things showing conceal and lie and deceit. All of it is circumstantial, which is unfortunate. And then she proceeds to plead the fifth.
Bingo! Plead the fifth. You know, the thing that guilty people does. This friend who was involved in whatever happened to Kyron pleads the fifth when things get a little too tough. There's pictures on disposable phones that the two of them got so that they could communicate together. It's absolutely horrible. Horrible. How do people even come up with this crap, y'all? Maurice, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you for that so much. We are so excited to have 5 new lollipops. It's like the Astros hitting a home run. Thank you so much, and welcome to our new lollipops. We appreciate y'all so much for being here, and we make sure to thank our beautiful Maurice for gifting those memberships. Folks, there's been talk in Sebastian's case as well about the phones. Could there have been burner phones? Could there have been these special high-tech type of phones that do not need service? Well, right now, in Kyron's case, they have the disposable phone with pictures of the location and all the things, but yet they have not found Kyron. Let's finish listening.
She doesn't want people to know what she is. And now that she has an immunity deal, we can never prosecute her. We can't ever fix that.
Chapter 7, Missed Clues.
And I think that it was the one moment at that first press conference, Terry was looking at the cameras and realizing that Kyron was not going to be taken without a huge aftermath.
Hope Floats, thank you so much for that Venmo. I appreciate you so much. You are so sweet. Thank you for that.
She thought it would be a blip on the screen and everybody go about their merry lives and forget what had just happened. She did not gamble on the fact that Kyron would be huge and that everybody would love Kyron and that it would be the biggest case in Oregon's history. She did not bet on that. And
I wonder if the Proudfoots bet on that for Sebastian as well, because, you know, he had no friends, so surely there wouldn't be much coverage, right? Surprise. Yes, Terry echoes Christopher.
I remember saying to my husband, you better get her away from me. And Mary Lynn Strand looked at me and knew in that moment that she needed to take Terry out of there. She didn't like that because she never could con me into thinking that fake Terry was the real thing. And she hated that aspect about me, is that I was real and I knew what the score was. And she did not like that. And when she was being let out the back, I think all of that was coming to a head. If there was ever any impact it had, you could see it. And they sent an investigator to take her to go get interviewed, and it shut her down. It was the wrong investigator. And I talk about that with law enforcement because
folks,
it would be the biggest case in Oregon's history. She did not bet on that. And I remember saying to my husband, you better get her away.
Look at her. This is the woman that did something to this young man. And look at her looking at his mother. She's sick and deranged, folks. Who does that? My gosh.
For me. And Mary Lynn Strand looked at me and knew in that moment that she needed to take Terry out of there. She didn't like that because she never could con me into thinking that fake Terry was the real thing. And she hated that aspect about me, is that I was real and I knew what the score was. And she did not like that. And when she was being let out the back, I think all of that was coming to a head. If there was ever any impact it had, you could see it. And
Yes, Carol.
they sent an investigator to take her to go get interviewed, and it shut her down. It was the wrong investigator. And I talk about that with law enforcement because it's huge. When you have somebody who's building a rapport with someone and they could potentially get answers, it is so important to send the right person in there at that moment. That was the one moment, and we lost it at that moment. That was it. It was done. We would never recover from that moment.
Chapter 8. Drive into Darkness.
When we were driving to and from the school, every time I was looking out the window, looking, searching, all the time. Never once did she ever look around. In fact, she asked me, "What are you doing?" Like she was annoyed at it. I said, "I'm looking for my son. What are you doing?"
No, she is not. The dad is not with her anymore. Yes. Yeah, we were talking about that a while ago, Diana. Yes.
And she thought that was odd.
Chapter 9. Broken Facade.
When Terry came in from failing one of the polygraphs, she was visibly shaken by it.
The stepmother failed the polygraph. You know, because she lying.
And she was scrambling to try and justify herself. She's bothered by it. Not the same way I think that normal people would be, just like in a frenzy. And she's walking around the living room and she walks over to me, and I'm sitting in a recliner, leans over the arm at me and says, "I want you to know I loved your son." And I heard it and I looked at her and I said, "What did you say?" "I loved your son. I love my son. I love my son still. I will never stop loving my son." You said past tense, and
just like, I don't know, Katie, when she said he would have, this woman said, "I loved." Folks, there's so many telling tales in both of these.
I stood up and looked at my mom, and I was in like a moment of rage. Someone has to get me. I'm going to kill her. I had to walk out of the house. I couldn't handle it. I was at my limit. And Tony looked at me from outside and knew something was wrong. And he came up to me and I said, "She said she loved my son." Past tense. She said loved, not love. And I hadn't slept in days. Tony thought I was being emotional. I said, "Ask my mom. She said that. That was her words. I'm not being emotional. I'm telling you. It's a fact." It got even more uncomfortable. She failed the second polygraph.
A second?
Yes.
With the FBI?
Yes. And they were able to get to another version of her timeline through that polygraph, right? And so as a result, we were concerned at that point. Tony said to me, "They're not clearing her off their list. There's something wrong."
Yeah.
And so we all went into Kyron's bedroom, away from my parents, my son, and we went in there to talk. And Kane, Tony, and I confronted her. And I said to her,
Listen to this.
trying to appeal to her motherly instinct if she had one. Think about it if it was Kiara. If it was Kiara and I was the last person with her, would you not want me to do everything humanly possible to clear myself? Would you not want me to take 5,000 polygraphs if I had to? If you have to take 11 polygraphs and it's uncomfortable, you do it, because we have to find Kyron. We hit her hard. We've all taken polygraphs. It's uncomfortable. That's all she vented about, how uncomfortable and awkward it was. They're mean to me. Absolutely, it's uncomfortable. I was scared to death that they wouldn't believe me, that I had nothing to do with it. But I passed because I didn't have anything to do with it. Because I have no guilty conscience. I love my son. Where is Kyron? Did you have any involvement? Were you with Kyron after 8:45?
And she failed those questions?
Yes. And when they asked her to do a third, she walked out of the polygraph, got up and walked out, wouldn't finish it.
Chapter 10, Bloodstains.
The DNA in the pickup truck. Tell me about that.
It was in the bed of the pickup.
Kyron's DNA. Do you know what type of DNA? Was it blood? Was it?
According to Terry, it was blood. She was telling them, or telling us in the house, that they had found that and had confronted her on it.
And the police have not divulged this publicly, right?
No.
Which makes
They wouldn't.
sense. But she said that. Did they take the truck?
Mhm.
They took the truck. Did
In the beginning, yes.
Okay, so
and they did, all the workup
Mhm.
and multiple times.
was that the only vehicle that they took?
Nope, the Mustang also. She basically stopped cooperating.
They found blood of that baby's in the back of that pickup truck that woman was driving that morning. When she drove off into the woods right after leaving his school with him, and she's still walking free. Folks, what is wrong with law enforcement? What is wrong with our laws that there can be so much right in front of them and yet they can't do anything about it? I do not get it. You have a woman who took this child to school and lied about seeing him for the very last time, knowing there's a wall in her face. She's seen leaving the school with him, but yet she said she left him at his classroom door. That truck drives out of town into the woods after she stops and picks up her best friend. And there's DNA evidence of that young man in the bed of that pickup truck. And she's still walking free to this day. It's absolutely terrifying. What is wrong with our laws that allow this to go on? And thank God for this mother for fighting for her child after all these years. She will not stop.
Stop doing interviews.
2 weeks later, Kyron's father moves out of the home he shared with Terry Horman, taking his 1-year-old daughter with him. Days later, Coin6 confirms that Terry is a suspect in a murder for hire plot. Deputies believe she tried to hire a landscaper to kill her husband.
You could see it in the team. They were ready to go in and arrest her. They were. And when Casey Anthony happened, everything stalled. They backed up. The challenge with the Casey Anthony case
This was in Oregon.
Was because they charged her before they had Kaylee.
Mhm.
And a lot of the evidence in that case was not admissible because of that.
Right.
And that's what scared them.
As to the charge of first-degree murder, verdict as to count 1. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, on this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson. As to the charge of aggravated child abuse, verdict as to count 2. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty, so say we all, dated at Orlando, Orange County, Florida, this 5th day of July, 2011, signed foreperson.
Forever have a hole in my heart because he's not here.
Young and her family are still fighting for Kyron. Just last.
Look at that face, y'all. Just like with Sebastian. Look at that precious face. How could anyone do anything to that sweet baby boy? There are some sick people in this world. And as long as the laws continue to be so flexible, those horrible people that do those bad things to these precious children will continue to walk this earth free.
Last Friday, she filed a $10 million civil lawsuit against Kyron's stepmother, Terry Moulton Horman, who investigators say was the last person to see Kyron alive.
I don't want Terry's money. I want Terry to face justice. She hasn't yet taken responsibility.
The lawsuit would allow Young's lawyer, Eldon Rosenthal, to subpoena witnesses, acquire documents and evidence, and peel away the mystery of what happened to Kyron.
Through this process, I hope to compel her to accept responsibility for what she's done.
Chapter 11, Legal Crossroads.
The civil case really was, I was watching a TV show where a case had used that as a tool and had actually been able to prosecute someone based on the evidence that came from interviewing the suspect in that case.
Because in a civil case, you go through it all again. You have
You do
depositions.
discovery,
Yeah.
you do depositions, and that deposition had brought up the inconsistencies, the lies, the provable lies, and had painted him into a corner where there was just no way around it. He murdered this girl. It was at that moment when Tony and I were watching that show that we were looking at each other going, is that a possibility for us? And that's when we started looking into it as an option. And yes, it absolutely was a possibility.
Mhm.
I had, of course, many meetings leading up to announcing it. I had the understanding that I would not have any problems getting the case file from law enforcement. It wasn't until we started moving forward, we had deposed Kane, we had deposed me, we had tried to depose Dee Dee Spicer. We had started moving down that path where, okay, we're doing this, right? And the DA's office gave me the case file. I had to make a decision, and it wasn't just about Kyron. It was about every family of every missing child that comes after me. It would have changed the way that law enforcement would have communicated or divulged anything in a missing child case for everyone that came after me. I didn't want to do that and make it so that the family couldn't have answers or information about their child. I absolutely would have won if I pushed it in court. I could have gotten the file. I didn't want that on my heart, and I didn't want that to be Kyron's legacy. So I reluctantly had to dismiss the civil case. I don't know that we would have been successful in what I wanted. I wanted answers. I wanted Kyron. But tell me where Kyron is. and give me answers. It's going to take someone who has the balls to go up against her.
Is that not horrible that this mother had to make the decision? Does she fight in this civil suit and get the case files and possibly cause other parents of missing children later down the line to put their case in jeopardy by doing the same thing she was wanting? What a horrible, gut-wrenching decision that had to be made at that moment. I couldn't begin to imagine, guys. It's absolutely gut-wrenching. But she's a mother who cares. And she was not being selfish. She made the decision for other parents down the line to be able to have justice for their child.
Because I truly believe in my heart that we will get a conviction. We have several 100,000 Kyron supporters who follow us every day, and they want justice for Kyron. They want someone to act. It just takes the right person with the guts to say, okay, if we're not ready right this second, fine, let's get ready. Let's convene a task force. Let's get all this stuff together. Get it organized. Let's get ready for prosecution. I don't know if we will be able to find Kyron. And at this point, I don't care if she goes to prison. I want my son home. No matter what the outcome was. I just want
answers. More answers.
I want to be able to put this in a place where we're not still on that roller coaster. We're not still looking at every child in the grocery store that looks like it could be Kyron. We're not still looking for him. I want Kyron home. I want to be able to hug him again. I want 5 more minutes with him. But if that wasn't what she did that day, then okay. I am a reasonable person. I get it. But I want to be able to put him to rest.
If that doesn't break your heart, I don't know what does, folks, because that right there is a mother of a missing child that truly is hurting. I hope and pray that Seth does not have to go this long. It's horrible. It should never, ever take this long, and it still not be solved.
If that's what she did.
Chapter 12. Family fractured.
When he found out about the murder for hire plot a month after Kyron went missing, he took Kiara out of the house and filed a restraining order.
That woman, the stepmother, 1 month later, hired a man to take and unalive her husband, Kyron's father. Can you imagine what kind of sickness is in that woman's head?
And that was when he filed for divorce. It actually took, I believe, 2 years for it to be final, because he had written into the paperwork and stuff that she had to be compelled to speak. And she could not get visitation without adhering to some of these stipulations. She refused to do any of that. And so it was kind of a stalemate situation, which I feel like we're in now. But he had to basically wait her out and then finally just force the issue. I mean, he came to Tony and I and asked us to take Kiara. And I wanted to, man, that was my reflex. But I told him that he needed to get to know his daughter, and he didn't need another woman coming in and saving him from this. Yeah. That he needed to do this to be a better person, a better.
Can you imagine her sitting here grieving over her child missing, not knowing where he is, and the woman who obviously has done this to her son, her ex-husband wants her to raise the child of the woman who potentially could have unalived her own son. Wow. That's big.
Other father and just an overall involved dad. I wasn't going to save him from that. And he just...
Yes, TJ, I agree.
He keeps having these people that come in and help him.
Yeah. You know.
Well, and I told him above all, he needed to protect Kiara.
Yeah.
And don't ever sacrifice that. And I said, I will come and hunt you down if you ever let her have visitation. Seriously, if I hear of one visit.
Yeah.
And he was like, I know. I said, I don't think you do. I'm not going to save you from this, but I swear to God, no, she hasn't adhered to any of the stipulations. She barely has paid child support. She had to clear herself and sit down with law enforcement about Kyron's case. Still hasn't done any of that. She had to navigate supervised visits, which she never did any of that. She just took off. There's tons of things that she had to adhere to in order to get to a point where she could reintegrate. Mm-hmm. She hasn't done any of it. And Kiara, I got to think of how old she is now, 16? She was at Kyron's school and has moved on to, I believe she's in 9th or 10th grade now. So, but Skyline only goes up to 8th grade, but she was there still. I saw her, the last time I got to see her was at the 5-year mark. And Chris, Kane's mom, brought her to me. I can't tell you, there's a piece of Kyron in there. She looks like him. And poor Kiara, she probably thought I was a crazy person. When you have a child, you just have this innate inside yearning to touch them. Mm-hmm. And when I saw her, I didn't even think about it. I just scooped her up and hugged her and cried. And she remembered me though. And it just was huge. I was so grateful that Chris did that. But I miss Kiara because, I saw her and I always was involved and she would always come to me. Mm-hmm. It's sad. Those are things that you lose in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I pray that she's doing good. I pray that Kane has done the right things. And
Chapter 13 Echoes of Silence.
well, and honestly, we have far more evidence now today than we did back then.
Yes. And that's the next thing I was getting to. We have a grand jury that was convened early on, within a couple of months.
Yeah.
Had we had everything that was known today in that grand jury, what would have been the outcome?
I believe we would have indicted.
Has a grand jury been convened since?
Not in the fashion that you're thinking of, where they're listening to try and do a charge, right?
Okay.
So I believe that that would be a good move to make.
A game changer.
Yeah.
What is that going to take in Multnomah County to happen? What's the hang up there?
It will take new people. I know a lot of things that indicate to me what she did, which is a horrible picture for me to have in my head. But it's been over 13 years where this has developed. It's all the evidence. It's the physical evidence, the circumstantial evidence. It's the DNA in the pickup. All the things that we have that indicate what she did. The one thing that I hold on to, because a lot of people come to me and say, well, when you're prosecuting a case like this, you can't say if Kyron's out there in the world somewhere. And I say this, Kyron relied on one person that day. That's it. Terry's it. He relied on her that day. He was with her. She had him.
Huge, huge, huge statement right there. That's it. That woman was the person that child depended on that day to get him safely to school. She got him to school. She just didn't leave him at school. Just the same as Sebastian. He was with his mother. She was the one in charge of looking after her child. I hope so. I very much hope so, Maurice. We need Chris M. to look into this. Yes. This mother is spot on.
It's the worst kind of evil.
We implore Terry Horman to fully cooperate with the investigators to bring Kyron home. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was not prepared for that moment, for that phone call. The phone call that turned everything I knew and understood to be right in this world upside down.
I remember driving up to the school like it was yesterday.
It's 10 years without his laughter, his smiles, without his hugs.
I just want her to see his face every single day.
It's a roller coaster every day. Driving up here, I was listening to a song, and it's one of Kyron's songs, and it makes me cry every time. And I wish that we could dance to it again together. That we're done waiting. That this is not a joke. This is Kyron's life that we're talking about.
I'm always surprised to see how many people truly love Kyron who don't even know him and haven't met him.
You're just a man, tell me you're all I have. Where the hell am I supposed to go? You poison yourself again with something in the orange to tell you I'm still coming home. When I come back today, would you still stare at the way?
I don't care how big he is, I'm gonna pick him up. I might squeeze them a little too tight. 12 years to not have your son, who is a piece of you. It's hard to function every day. Those are the things that make it so hard. Life keeps going, and I'm stuck at June 4th, 2010. I haven't moved past that. Kyron's still 7 to me.
No matter what Terry did that day, we still have to find Kyron. We still have to bring him home.
Amen.
And I hear your voice tremble when you try to speak. Take me back to this dance and this what used to creep. Till you're just a man, tell me you're all I have. Where the hell am I supposed to go? You poison yourself again, but something in the orange to tell you I'm still coming home. When I come back today, would you still stare at the way the orange touches all things around? The grass trees are new, well, I still love you. I'm turning these headlights around. Stop poisoning yourself again with something in the orange to tell you I'm still coming home. When I come back today, would you still stare at the way the orange touches all things around? The grass trees are new, yeah, I still love you. I'm turning these headlights around. I'm turning these headlights around.
Folks, I'm going to play one more thing real quick before we go. I know Justin went live. We've lost several people here, but there is less than 5 minutes that this story we watched was two years ago. This one we're fixing to watch was 2 months ago. And just like the other, it will tear your heart up. She walks into Kyron's room in this interview. She explains to us how life moves on. However, her life has stood still in a way. I understand that. I feel that more than anyone could ever imagine. Let me get this pulled up and we'll watch this. Here we go.
In studio this morning with a conversation.
Hang on, let me start it over. There we go.
Today marks 15 years since 7-year-old Kyron Horman disappeared. He was last seen at Portland's Skyline Middle School on June 4th, 2010.
All these years later, his family remains committed to finding out what happened to their beloved Kyron that day. Investigative reporter Adrian Thomas joins us in studio this morning with a conversation with Kyron's parents. Good morning, Adrian.
Kim, Shauna, good morning. So federal law enforcement now taking a fresh look at Kyron Horman's disappearance now as case records are digitized. We wanted to check in with Kyron's mother and father as 15 years have now passed since Kyron went missing.
So you heard that, folks. New law enforcement and federal law enforcement are taking a new look into this case now that everything is digitally inputted. There is new interest in Kyron's case.
Both shared how they've found the strength to keep moving forward amid an investigation that's taken so long and still has so many unanswered questions.
Live from Fox 12 Oregon, this is breaking news.
We are going to begin with some breaking news tonight. A Portland second grader is missing this evening, and search crews and his parents are desperate to find him.
In what's been a decade and a half of searching for answers to what happened to her son, Kyron Horman, Desiree Young keeps her son's memory alive in her Medford home. Heartwarming photos of Kyron and the rest of their family, along with an area in her backyard called Kyron's Pad, adorned with frogs, paying tribute to Kyron and his favorite animal, the red-eyed tree frog. That frog, the subject of Kyron's science fair project pictured here, the last photo of him taken before he went missing on June 4th, 2010. Kyron's mother showed us his room when we met with her last week.
You know, it's changed over the years. It's sad, but it's just part of life. It keeps going, even though you want to still be in 2010. But yeah, I have all my family pictures out and all down our hall, and Kyron still exists. He's still part of our family. That doesn't change.
We also caught up with Kyron's father, Kyron Horman, to reflect on the last 15 years.
I think like everybody else, I think we thought this would be over quickly. Maybe just wandered off from school or something. And to be this far along with the case and still have it unsolved, I mean, that's, I think, difficult for everybody. It's difficult for us as family. It doesn't really get easier. You just learn to live with it.
Trying to carry on day-to-day life, also a challenge for Young 15 years later.
It doesn't get easier. I think people think that it does, but it really doesn't. I can be walking through a grocery store and see a little boy that looks like Kyron, and it just brings me to tears. I can't control that always.
The publicity and speculation surrounding Kyron's disappearance has been a battle at times for Kyron's loved ones. How do you continue to keep the humanity alive in this story?
It's challenging. I have nightmares for weeks sometimes based on what someone says to me. And so that humanity is really hard to remind people, I think, in this world where we're constantly seeing these cases on TV, and it's a TV show to people. It's not, this is my son. This is a horrible situation, and it's raw all the time.
Despite the years of having to cope with not having answers, Kyron Horman's parents have used their son's story to raise awareness with the public and law enforcement about missing children investigations and how they're carried out. They also are very grateful for the public's continued support.
Because I think a lot of people have a connection to his case, whether it's they have kids that were the same age or they were doing something specific when it happened and they remember it. I think it triggers a lot of things for a lot of people. And so I think we help console each other through that process.
Now, both Desiree Young and Kyron Horman stress that the investigation remains very much active and encourage anyone who may have information to forward. The picture right here is from law enforcement depicting what Kyron Horman might look like today, as he would now be in his early 20s. A $50,000 reward remains available for information leading to the cause of Kyron's disappearance. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office tip line or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. You see the contact info listed right there. We'll also have that information along with this story on the Fox 12 app. Live in studio, Adrian Thomas. Good day, Oregon.
All right, okay, folks. There you have it. 15 years later, and that mother is still grieving. It's something you do not ever in your lifetime get over. Trust me on that. 5 years is not that long, but yet at the same time, there are days where it's like I was back to that very moment that it happened for me. And as we talk about Kyron's case, it's something that's been happening and going on with this mother, her searches, people standing on the street, people fighting to get the answers that are needed for 15 years, folks. You see, a mother's love for her child is very strong. And yet you see other mothers who don't have that love, who make choices that are not good. And when you talk about these mothers and the things that go on and the things that they say, the things they do, you can tell the difference. It is so right in front of us. It's so obvious. Yes, Miss Retha, this mama does need some prayers for sure. She has renewed hope because they are getting those fresh eyes on the case. Those people that are starting from day one and looking through every bit of evidence that's out there, going back through search areas that potentially had something that they might have overlooked. And once these set of fresh eyes are satisfied with the fact that there is enough evidence here right in front of them, we just pray that that stepmother will go to jail. I never looked too deep into the stepmother to see if she even spent any time behind bars for hiring someone to unalive her husband. But that just tells you the frame of mind she was in at that time. She had pleaded with his mother to take him. His father said no. That's something his dad would have to live with for a long time. But hopefully he is putting 100% into his daughter now. The stepmother, from what I understand, is living life with her best friend. I believe there's more to that than just a best friend type of relationship. But whatever it is deep enough to cover for the other. She never has, Cindy, not even for wanting to hire someone. It's absolutely horrible that there are people in this whole entire world that can actually do something to children. It's horrible to think. It's unfathomable to me to wrap my head around it, because children are a gift. They were given to us to love and to nurture. Whether we gave birth to them or not. I have tons of kids, grown-ups now, that still call me mom. And I think the same of them as I do of my kids. Not arrested. She's now in California. Isn't that something? Just living life. Just living life. Wonder if she went up to Oregon and met up with Katie and Chris while they were there, and they could have swapped out some stories, I bet. It's absolutely disgusting to think that somebody can live their life to the fullest, just keep going through life knowing what you did. It's horrible. But I do want to say thank you to everybody for being here and listening and following this case. We are going to look more into it. We're going to continue to dig into this a little further just to get some exposure to this young man's case, because he deserves it as well. I hope so, Miss Kathy. I hope her day is coming very, very soon. But I'll be back again tomorrow. Y'all look for it. It'll probably be around the same time, 4 to 5 o'clock, somewhere around there. But if you want to come back this evening and join us, I'll put it up here in just a minute. And we'll just do some hangout time. Just enjoy life for a minute. Nothing too serious, for sure. But I thank you all for being here. Appreciate y'all so, so much. Be safe out on the streets. It is absolutely insane out there. Y'all be safe. And if I don't see you tonight, I'll see you back tomorrow. But until I see you, love and hugs, everybody. See you soon.